This week at Bungie, we talk story and Sandbox. Before we kick this TWAB off, I have to ask, have you watched the new story trailer for Beyond Light yet? No? While we aren't going to dive deeply into spoiler territory between now and launch, this is the moment where we say it's time for you to go dark if you are looking to experience the expansion with no knowledge of what's coming. If you're hungry, it's time to dig in. Aramis is on the warpath. Varix warns of catastrophe. The Exo-Stranger has been waiting for you. A few extra details can be found on the Beyond Light story page on Bungie.net. Jump in if you'd like to know more. Soon, you'll be exploring Europa in search of answers. Whether you be a lone wolf or part of a fire team, we'll leave that path for you to walk. 110? Meet 120. 2 weeks ago, we began a conversation about Sandbox tuning for Beyond Light. Armor modifications are getting some hefty changes from reloads to raids. If you missed it, check out the October 8th TWAB. Link is in the description below. This week, our focus shifts to the weapons in your arsenal. As our mods preview, we have a collection of patch notes accompanied by developer commentary. Alright, we ready? The dev team says hello! Today we'll be covering some changes to a few specific weapons and weapon families. For those of you who don't have much knowledge of our sandbox, each weapon has a specific frame that is also tied to its associated rate of fire. We've included both of these for a bit of clarity, as many players default to rate of fire when talking about various weapons. As an example, aggressive hand cannons currently have a rate of fire of 110 rounds per minute. Hand cannons. We're making changes to give hand cannon subfamilies more diversity and more reasons to use each. Aggressive hand cannons are being increased from a rate of fire of 110 to 120. We broke out aggressive hand cannons, allowing custom tuning of stats, e.g. damage fall off for 100 range in the subfamily now starts at 32 meters. Adaptive and precision. Range stat now has more impact on minimum damage fall-off range for both archetypes. Damage fall-off for 100 range now starts at 25 meters. It was 20. Precision hand cannons, 180 rate of fire magazine scaled up by 37%. Note this also affects exotics with that rate of fire. Lightweight hand cannons are being folded into adaptive. We moved all lightweight hand cannons, which are currently 150 rate of fire, to the adaptive subfamily of 140 rate of fire. This includes Luna's Howl and Not Forgotten. One exotic hand cannon will retain 150 rate of fire. We aren't going to leave it to speculation. It's beautiful. It does solar damage. It makes enemies explode. It's Sunshot. At this time, 150 hand cannons represent the majority of hand cannon usage in the Crucible. While we experimented with many different ways to even out lightweights and adaptives, lightweight hand cannons consistently retained a faster time to kill. As such, we opted to equalize their rate of fire. We selected 140s as it is fairly balanced in the Crucible sandbox. It gives other weapon archetypes more time to breathe between shots, avoids an overabundance of hand cannons with faster TTK than other weapons, and pairs nicely with upcoming changes to 600 auto rifles. More on that later. Sniper rifles. We want sniper rifles to feel powerful without being so easy to use that they dominate. Adjusted how aim assist is affected by sniper rifle zoom level. Lower zoom scopes have less aim assist. Higher zoom scopes have more. Scopes with around 50 zoom are unchanged. Lowest zoom scopes have a large reduction in aim assist cone angle, and highest zoom scopes have a small increase. Auto rifles. In Season of the Worthy, the adaptive archetype, or 600s, was given a buff. We're pulling that back a little to keep it in check with other auto rifle archetypes. Adaptive damage per bullet reduced from 15.75 to 14.25. Note, prior to Season of the Worthy, damage per bullet was 13.75. Scout rifles. Scout rifles have a reasonable time to kill and can't be adjusted too much without making them dominate the battlefield, so we're making them a little easier to use. Increased how much each point of the aim assist stat widens the aim assist cone. At maximum, the aim assist cone is now 15% wider. Rocket launchers. These heavy weapons currently have very low reserves, so we're adjusting that. We expect to take another look at rocket launchers in a future season. Increase reserves by 1 or 2 rockets depending on inventory stat. General, the following is a list of surgical changes for select weapons based on player feedback. Some of these changes apply to weapons that are a little too far ahead of the other options, while others apply small buffs to increase the weapon's effectiveness. Perks, Outlaw. The reload speed increase felt sufficient with certain subfamilies and combination of roles, such as aggressive hand cannons. Increased reload stat bonus from plus 50 to plus 70. Merciless. Increased inventory stat from 36 to 55. This increases reserve ammo. Mountaintop. We've had a ton of feedback that Mountaintop feels a bit over the top in Crucible modes. This pinnacle weapon had ample time to shine, so we're taking it down a notch. Specific pain points: a one-shot body shot with infinite range, quick and easy cleanup of wounded guardians, even around corners, deals high splash damage, rewarding players for inaccuracy, perfect in-air accuracy allows airborne guardians to rain down death, and there's not much grounded guardians can do to respond. Here are the changes instead to address these points. Reduce splash damage by 33%, increase impact damage such that total damage is 5% lower than before, reduce projectile velocity multiplier from the micro missile perk from 1.4 to 1.2. That means it's now 20% faster than other breach grenade launchers instead of 40%. Reduced in-air accuracy now has significant projectile error while in air, around 7 degrees without the Icarus Grip mod, substantially less with. Falling Guillotine reduced heavy attack damage by about 24% to bring in line with other swords. Note, Falling Guillotine will continue to be slightly above average, just not to the extent that it is now. Mida Multi-Tool and Mida Mini-Tool. Mida Mini-Tool moved the Mida Synergy trait to the intrinsic, similar to how the Baroque version works. Added the following perks: Hipfire Grip and Kill Clip. Note, there is an issue with the masterwork on this weapon that prevents it from being upgraded. This will be fixed in a later update. Also, the gunsmith will begin selling a version of this weapon on November 10th with no infusion cap. Sturm and Drang. Drang moved the Together Forever trait to intrinsic, similar to how the Baroque version works. Added the following perks: Accurized Rounds and Moving Target. Note, there is an issue with the masterwork on this weapon that prevents it from being upgraded. This will be fixed in a later update. Also, the gunsmith will begin selling a version of this weapon on November 10th with no infusion cap. Ruinous Effigy. Transmutation Spears. Reduce the damage of the aerial melee attack by 25%. Significantly reduce the damage of the drain effect on enemy combatants. Arbalest no longer strikes shields multiple times, but its efficacy against shielded targets has been increased. Jade Rabbit. Armor-piercing rounds swap to high-caliber rounds. This fixes an issue that could prevent the exotic perk from triggering. Now let's look at some new hotness coming soon to a lighthouse near you. A few months back, we announced the return of adept weapons to the Trials experience. Today, we'll be spending some time getting you reacquainted with these tools of destruction and how we're laying the groundwork for future adept weaponry. While these weapons are similar in name to the Adepts of Destiny 1, there are some added elements to embrace the weapon systems of Destiny 2. With that, we pass the mic back to the dev team to give you the full rundown. According to the dev team, beginning in Beyond Light, all existing Trials weapons have Adept versions. Our intent is for all new Trials weapons to have an Adept version in the future, with their infusion caps matching the season they were introduced in. For our first round of Adepts, their infusion caps will be set to that of the Season of the Worthy. Additionally, we'll be introducing Adept weapon mods into the Sandbox in Beyond Light, which can only be applied to Adept weaponry. Here's how Adept weapons differ from the base weapons. Masterworking an Adept weapon grants additional stats. Plus 10 for the primary stat as usual, the specific masterwork of the weapon. Plus 3 for all alternate stats. Adept weapons can use either a standard weapon mod or a new Adept weapon mod earned when going flawless. A unique Adept shader has been made for these weapons. Note, these shaders are not awarded as a consumable when dismantling an Adept weapon. As such, they cannot be applied to other pieces of gear. Adept weapon mods. These mods come in 2 varieties. Weapon stat boosts, each of which grants plus 10 to a particular stat in a similar way to Masterwork stats. Example, Adept range, plus 10. Versions of some existing mods granting an improved bonus, but with a downside. Adept mag could have plus 40 magazine and minus 20 handling. Backup mag is plus 30 mag. Acquisition. To earn Adept weapons and Adept weapon mods, players must complete a Flawless Trials passage and open the Flawless chest at the Lighthouse. Each week, a different Adept mod can drop from the Flawless chest. Adept weapon mods will be on a weekly rotation, so a given mod may not make its appearance until later in the season. The mod is unlocked for use on owned Adept weapons when acquired. Adept weapons will be available from the Flawless chest on a bi-weekly basis, alternating with armor drops. The first Adept weapon acquired on a given week is a Pinnacle drop. Adept weapons will be on a set rotation, so players may continue to earn alternate rolls on specific Adept weapons when completing Flawless passages throughout a given weekend. As you can see, for those who reach the Lighthouse, your loot is about to get a little more spicy. While Adept rewards are coming first, we also have a Trials armor refresh planned for a future season, after the Stardust has settled from Beyond Light. With that, we come to an end to our Sandbox previews leading up to Beyond Light. Some of you may be asking, wait a minute, what about abilities? In 3 short weeks, the abilities you've come to know and master will be challenged by the darkness. Stasis will make its debut, bringing a new flavor of combat to the Sandbox. The team will be watching closely as you embark on your first strikes, gambit matches, and crucible exercises to see how your abilities stack up against each other. It's going to be a wild time, and we're excited to see the light clash with the dark. Prime time continues. This week saw another update to our Prime rewards. If you have a Prime account, make sure it's linked with your Bungie.net account. Once you've done that, head over to the Prime Gaming portal to redeem some sweet cosmetic rewards. Say hello to the Cryptomnesia Sparrow, making its debut through this month's Prime Drop. Rewards, including the Sparrow, are Ada 1's Lone Wolf Ship, Peerless Precision Ghost Shell, and the Flare Gun emote. Once redeemed, you'll find these at Amanda Holiday in the Tower's hangar. Stay tuned for future updates. Cypher Search. Festival of the Lost has reached its halfway mark, and Destiny player support is keeping an eye out for scary bugs as we approach the final days of the event. While no major issues have been found, we do have a few reminders on items to complete, and a note on the Interference Loop Triumph. Due to the extension of Season of Arrivals, the Nokris encounter for the Interference weekly quest will remain for the remainder of the season. This means that players who have missed a previous Interference encounter will be unable to access those encounters and will be unable to claim the Interference Loop Triumph. Titles. With the start of Year 4 on November 10th, certain seals and their associated titles will no longer be available to earn. Players will need to be sure to unlock and equip the following titles before this date to guarantee that the completions are recorded on their accounts: A Shadow Rises, Shadow, Reckoner, Black Armory Blacksmith, Destinations Wayfarer, Lore Chronicler, and Arrivals Forerunner. For more info on legacy titles and seals, players should view our Year 4 Triumphs Update Help article. Known issues. While we continue investigating various known issues, here's a list of the latest issues that were reported to us in our help forum. The Convergence ornament for Transversive Steps clips through the front of some Warlock robes. We are investigating an issue where Ashen Wake can cause damage to allies. And the Unbridled Enthusiasm exotic emote is not playing audio as intended. Pretty soon, Destiny won't be the only thing enveloped in darkness. Only 2 more TWABs stand between you and Europa. And before we go, we've been seeing a lot of questions in the wild on how bounties, currencies, and progression systems will be updated in Beyond Light. We're currently working to get the info together and making sure everything is factual. This isn't a prepper's guide to the galaxy, mind you. Just a heads up on how these systems are changing. Our current plan is to cover those topics next week. The most frequent question we're seeing right now concerns bounties and whether they'll be cleared at the start of the next season. Most of your bounties will stay intact, but any bounties tied to specific seasonal activities or content entering the DCV will be removed on November 10th. Examples would include Black Armory, Gambit Prime, or Festival of the Lost Bounties. Additionally, any bounties that grant progression towards Infamy or Valor may negatively impact your powerful rewards, as they will be limited to Season of Arrival's power levels. Our recommendation is to go ahead and claim your bounties, just to make sure you don't miss out on any XP or Glimmer. More to come next week. See you then. Cheers, DMG. I'm Diebear. If you like this video, please like, share, and comment. Don't forget to click the subscribe button and the notification bell below to be notified when new videos are posted. You can also find me on Twitch, Discord, and other social media. Links are in the description below.